Hello everyone, welcome to my presentation on the artist Alfredo Jaar, who was born February 5th, 1956. So a little about Jaar. So he's been active since the 1980s. He practices as an artist, architect. In addition to this, he does filmmaking as well. So his work focuses on a lot of politically charged events in history, discrimination against minorities, and the under-recognition of activists as well. So he was born in Chile, and he's now situated and works out of New York City. He did study filmmaking and architecture at the University of Chile. And I thought what was interesting to include is that one of his theories is that art making is 99% thinking and 1% object making. So the work that I'm going to take a focus on here, which was presented at the Whitney Biennial in 2022, was a video projection installation of his exhibit, which was called June 1st, 2020, 1839, 2022. So this is an image taken from his video installation exhibited at the Whitney, and it's a focus on the Black Lives Matter protest, which took place in Washington. And the installation included a box which audiences would enter. All the walls were painted black, and so they were in this space where they were to watch the entire video from beginning to end. So here's another photo, and the video installation was actually 5 minutes and 20 seconds, so it was an immersive installation. So this image, also taken from the video, they're reflecting on these brutal events which took place after the murder of George Floyd, a 46-year-old Black man murdered by police officer Derek Chauvin. So this was a very brutal and terrifying event. Federal forces fired on protesters with gas, stun grenades, and rubber bullets. Additionally, and probably most terrifying, 2 military helicopters flew shockingly low above protesters, which you can see in this image. A terrifying event which Alfredo Jaar actually witnessed. So this installation is about the abuse of power and the presence of fascism in the United States. So moving on to his next work, we have 33 Women, which took place in 2010. So the exhibition draws attention to 33 female activists who were protesting against the genital mutilations against young women, and the juxtaposition of the towering tripods here against the tiny photography of the activists draws attention to the fact that these female activists have been overlooked and underappreciated. So the exhibit was presented at Paris's Gallery Camille Menure. So these 33 women were put on display. So he really wanted to give these women attention and visibility. And the activists included human rights lawyers, to investigative journalists as well. The third work we'll take a look at, which follows a consistent theme in Alfredo's oeuvre, is called I Can't Go On, I'll Go On. And similar to the previous works, this is consistently reflecting on the horrors of our reality. But this one in particular is him looking at the feeling of helplessness that we experience being unable to control these horrific events. So this was presented at the Edinburgh Festival, and the work quotes the closing words of The Unnameable, a 1953 novel by Samuel Beckett. And a quote by Jaar in regards to this exhibit. He says that, quote, "A time of absolute chaos and confusion, where the collapse of ideologies and traditional politics is amplified by a dazzling array of technological developments. An era of alternative realities, otherwise known as the post-truth moment. How do we act in the world today?" Unquote. So I thought this was a pretty significant quote in terms of reflecting on how he feels about events happening in our era. So here's another photo of the performance. So these performances were considered public interventions, and they accompanied the piece of the neon sign we just saw. The neon sign is considered a sculpture. So he's addressing the many horrors of our age, including the Rwanda genocide, to the U.S.'s black site detention centers and torture rooms. And he's really struggling with the fact that he cannot change our reality, although he tries very hard to through his work. But in fact, reality is not changing for the better. So this is the conclusion of my presentation. Thank you.